Hi, Nick Smart, CEO of ValOre Metals. We have a project in Ceará, Brazil, platinum-palladium project that we're taking forward to development. Very excited here in London today and chatting with Matt.
We are, and like we've not met in person before, so it's delighted to meet you. And we had the big man come in here and bring you to us,
yeah.
Mr. Jim Peterson himself.
Yeah.
Look, great to meet you, and I think it'd be probably useful to spend time just explaining to me where you've come from, what you've done, and what you're going to bring to the party here. So, who have you worked with before that's kind of relevant to what you're trying to do today?
Fantastic, yeah. So, as the accent probably gives away, I'm South African. I studied University of Cape Town. I'm a chemical engineer by background, which was my introduction to Jim and the world of ValOre. Previous work experience working with Anglo American. I'm a bit of a specialist in terms of designing, building, and commissioning operations. Done that for 21 years around the globe. Built mines in Namibia. Had a zinc oxide project called Scorpion Zinc down in the southern part of Namibia, which is a fantastic project. Challenging metallurgy there. Developing a new process. We built a pilot plant, then built the full-scale plant there. Then spent a number of years working in Anglo Platinum and Anglo Base Metals. Spent about 6 years in Brazil. So really good to be getting back to Brazil now after many years away. And then a number of years in diamonds. So working for De Beers, we built a chemical vapor deposition lab-grown diamond plant in Portland, Oregon, which is a really fun project. And as I mentioned, I was introduced to Jim, started helping them out with the metallurgical test work which they're doing down at the University of Cape Town. So my old alma mater, getting back to the Chem Eng department there. Really enjoyed it, gotten along really well with the team, and since October have been leading the company.
Well, look, we have spoken online, as I say, so I know a little bit about of that background and maybe what you're going to be doing here. But I think it's again another useful. It'd be useful to spend time explaining the landscape. Because platinum palladium, right? It's kind of been sort of erratic in terms of pricing. People weren't sure what's going on with ICE cars versus EVs, etc. Some confusion in the marketplace. What does the landscape look now? Is there a future for platinum palladium?
Yeah. It's a fascinating space. Platinum palladium amongst the precious metals. Perhaps one of the less well understood markets. And for a number of years, you're right. I think a bit unloved for a while. If we wind back 10, 20 years ago, platinum was the more precious of the precious metals. Priced significantly above gold, and had been for a long time before that. It reflects the fact that it is a rarer metal. It's got a big industrial demand that drives it. So it's subject to more of the demand supply dynamics perhaps than gold, which is sort of more investment driven. And that for platinum and palladium has been a challenge because if you look back certainly 10 years ago, there was a view that your demand for platinum and palladium would reduce because the major driver for the use of both platinum and palladium is in autocatalysts. So if you are driving more battery-operated vehicles, you would have less demand for autocatalysts and less demand for the platinum and palladium in them. But fast forward to today, what we've actually seen is that level of adoption hasn't been as high as what had been forecast in the past. You've got a significant number of internal combustion engines still on the road today, and an even larger percentage of hybrid vehicles. And hybrid vehicles, interestingly, because they are smaller engines and they run cooler, you've got to use more of the platinum and palladium in that autocatalyst. So that effectively has meant a steady level of demand. Instead of this declining picture, you've had a steady level of demand. But the last few years, with prices as low as they have been, has not incentivized new supply to come on. So within that kind of pricing environment, new primary supply has been scarce, and as a result, you've got the situation of steady demand, declining supply. So older mines, particularly in South Africa, which become more and more challenging to operate, more costly to operate, and you have a drop off in terms of supply, and you leads to that deficit situation that we're seeing today.
Right. Now the difficulty with commodities like this, metals like this, is you need to be able to kind of forecast the future, and it's quite clear the market got that very, very wrong. Like I say, EVs perhaps haven't grown at they're growing well, but not at the rates that were predicted. Platinum-palladium still has a place and a role to play in terms of hybrid and internal combustion engines. But financing them is a difficult thing if you're not quite sure if we're going to have sort of 10 years this way and then straight back down again. And this erratic nature of what we're looking at is problematic. So how do you sort of see the future? What is the future for this? Because South Africa, big producer historically. I say these mines are getting a bit old. Where else in the world supplies platinum and palladium? And is there going to be some glut of it? So you have these swings and roundabouts, as it were.
Yeah, so I mean, all the forecasts that we see point to a fairly sustained deficit in terms of supply. It takes a long time to bring a new source of supply on.
Where are the main jurisdictions that actually could produce?
Yeah, I mean, South Africa holds about 90% of the world's resources of platinum in particular.
So not just production, resources.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So it's the dominant space for that. Secondary position being Russia. So when we look at where we are interested in developing projects, I mentioned our project Pedra Branca in Brazil, stable jurisdiction, fantastic infrastructure, good access to electricity, and a supportive government in terms of permitting and bringing that forward. That's a huge advantage for us in that space. It's as you say, you've got to be able to take a long-term view. Our general view is that the demand drivers are pretty strong for both platinum and palladium. We spoke about autocatalysts, which is a big one, but industrial, the chemical and physical properties of platinum and palladium have a lot of advantages for more generalist industrial catalysts as well. So what makes them useful as autocatalysts makes them useful in an industrial context as well. And then the other two drivers that are inside there as well, one of which being jewelry. So it's a world that I've had some exposure to in that space as well, and it's a super interesting space. When platinum is a potential substitute for gold in certain applications for jewelry. So it's a white metal, it's a very noble metal, it's considered to be very precious. But with gold pricing as high as it is right now, you've got an increased desire for platinum. So when people are choosing a wedding band, for example, they've got a choice between platinum band and a white gold band. And increasingly the price is driving people towards platinum as a really good choice. And because the markets are so dramatically different in terms of supply, so you compare the global production of gold for 120 million ounces per annum versus platinum, which is sort of 6 million ounces per annum, you don't need a lot of switching to be able to drive a big demand growth for platinum.
So I want to discount a few concerns I might have around. You talk about supply deficit going forward, but what happens with supply deficits is people go, supply deficit, prices are going up, let's pile in here, let's get this thing funded, and we'll start to build. So South Africa, 90% of resources, 90% of supply at the moment.
Yeah.
Some coming out of Russia, depending on what's happening with sanctions. How can you be assured that your project, Pedra Branca in Brazil, is going to find a place, and there aren't going to be a slew of companies trying to come in and produce and flood the market and then sort of drive prices down again? So what's that measured approach that you need to take?
Yeah, I mean the number one driver for us is to ensure that our project sits at a very attractive point on the price curve. Our full aim is to be a low cost producer in that space, which is really the major protection that you've got when developing a minerals project. You want to be low on the cost curve, so if and when others come in who are incentivized to come into that space, you still maintain your competitive position. That said, there are relatively few development stage projects for platinum and palladium. It's not easy to find a deposit which is workable and economic. And bringing those into production generally takes a long time. We've got some significant advantages at Pedra Branca in particular, which I think is really exciting to give us that position on the cost curve. So one of the big distinguishing features of a PGE project, particularly in South Africa, is they tend to be deep level underground mines. So your mineralization when you're going down, is typically 600, 700, 800 meters underground, which is a huge investment in terms of underground infrastructure that you've got to get there, and it takes a long time. For us at Pedra Branca, we've got mineralization that goes right up to surface, which is, it's a huge advantage. We're looking at open cast mining, which is cheaper, it's quicker to get into, and it's a significant help for us in terms of the planning.
So let's talk about the demand side of things. How do you go about buying both? Because I guess where I'm coming from this is like, if you guys can get an offtake in place, or you've got an end buyer said, look, that's our supply, we're going to move upstream, we're going to grab a hold of that, and that's ours, then then that demand is taken off the market in a way. However, if people continue to buy through metal traders, then it's kind of open market free for all, and it's a little bit, I guess, opaque in terms of whether I should or shouldn't try and get my project into production. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like one of those things where I go, as a funder, I'm going, well, this market's huge. I don't want it to be, I want it to be huge, but I want it to have some certainty over future pricing. And if there's lots of companies that come in to try and supply into this huge demand, that's a problem for me, because I could get caught out. So what's your view in terms of securing future sales with one or however many off-takers?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's options in terms of securing off-take agreements, streaming, etc. For us, that's probably a little bit further down the line.
But in terms, you understand the market. You've worked with some of the bigger companies. But in terms, I'm just trying to say, hedging or fixed pricing versus spot in a space like this, which is predominantly South African focused, is how do you play that game? And as me as an investor, I'm going to go, how do I make damn sure I'm not going to be squeezed further down the line because the prices of both are going through the floor because there's a huge supply coming into the market?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't see the huge supply coming into the market in the near term. I think in particular, if you can position yourself as a low cost producer, and you've got that headroom between where spot sits and where your cost of production sits. Obviously, you want to be able to secure some of that up front and know where your product's going, know where the demand is going. But yeah, I think for us, the big driver is to bring the project in and to develop it in a way that is sustainably low cost.
Okay, enough market stuff. Let's talk about Pedra Branca proper. Where are we today? What have you got? What do you know? And what have you got to do?
Yeah, so I mean, we've done a huge amount of exploration. The area is huge. We've got 50,000 hectares there. It's a mineralization that runs over 80 kilometers, and it's been significantly drilled. So it was, the property was owned by Anglo Platinum originally, was then acquired by Jangada, a Brazilian entity. We acquired it in 2019. And during that period, since we acquired it in 2019, we've done circa 20,000 meters of drilling and doubled the size of the resource. So we've gone up to 2.2 million ounces of inferred resource, sitting at 1.08 grams per ton on average. Interesting thing is the better, higher grade ore is the stuff that sits right up at top, which is helpful for us to be able to get into early. And so, I mean, most recently, what we've been doing is a huge sampling campaign. So I mentioned the test work that we're doing with the University of Cape Town at the moment. Massive campaign of sampling, sending that product across to South Africa, and we've been running a series of metallurgical tests there with UCT. I'm in fact on my way down there next week to go and accompany some of those. We're about to move to our what we call the phase 2 of testing with UCT, which is larger scale testing, testing columns for sort of that low cost heap leach that we're looking at.
Then what?
Yeah. So, effectively what we're looking for is results that come out of that, prove the economics of the project. So aiming at a PEA for end of next year. That, effectively with that, we've got proven the economics of the project and take us into licensing. So that's our big aims for 2026.
Okay.
Completion of the test work, prove the economics of the project, and commence the licensing process.
Right. So we get some numbers wrapped around it by the end of next year, a bit PEA. What's the process look like for getting this thing built out? You talk about everything's at surface. I guess there's a simplicity to it. Once you've got the network done and you you understand that, what are the important things that you need to understand before moving on to a PFS? The PEA is sort of an economics. That's kind of market-facing thing, really, isn't it? I think you understand mostly what that PEA is going to look like now. You just need to go through the process. Yeah. I'm trying to work out in a market where I've gotten very few comps. I don't know what good looks like, really. So that PEA is a good starting point in terms of economics. But in terms of increasing the likelihood of success, likelihood of being able to insert yourself into a market and be able to kind of sell this stuff, realize those margins. That's what I want to understand. So how do I do that?
Yeah, so for us, the principal driver, because we want to bring this into production as soon as we can, is the licensing step within Brazil. Now, the interesting thing with how Brazil is set up, they've introduced a program of licensing which they call trial mining. So for us, the PEA that we mentioned is strongly aligned with what we would need to be able to get that preliminary license in place. So with a trial mining license, what you're able to do is open a test trial mine and build a demonstration plant, to build a pilot plant effectively for production. Typically, that's at about 1/10 of your full industrial scale. So if you would be targeting 150,000 ounces per annum, you'd be able to go in at 1,500 for a project like this. So for us, that's a really interesting route. It gets us into the ground faster. We're able to use the engineering that we'd be doing for the PEA as part of that application process. So the studies that we're doing, both from the environmental and the engineering side, support both the economics, but also helps us to do the licensing step of the project.
Is that finance, or are you going to have to raise money to kind of get to the end of the PEA?
So, I mean, we're well financed for what we need to do at the moment in terms of studies. When we talk to equity raisers, it gets us into the other interesting thing, which we should be talking about as well, which is the potential for M&A. So we're looking. We've obviously got the Pedra Branca project.
By who? Someone, you buying other land packages or companies or right, okay. Yeah,
so within Brazil at the moment, we think it's a really interesting environment from a development perspective. So I mentioned the process for trial mining, which was introduced a number of years ago, and a number of companies have now done this process. So they've successfully acquired the licensing, built the test pit, they've built the demonstration plant. What they need now is capex to take it up to full operation. So we've been looking hard, particularly in the precious metal space and the gold space, at opportunities within that sector.
Okay, so platinum, palladium, maybe gold.
Yes. We see ourselves. I mean, when we talk to ValOre, we see ourselves as an integrated precious metals producer focused on Brazil.
Okay, so going looking at some M&A of people who are slightly more advanced in the test phase only, or is it just access to capital to get into production?
Near stage production. So
why are you guys qualified to do that better than them?
Yeah, so we've got a number of advantages. One, through our positioning with ValOre and being backed by Discovery Group, access to capital from North America and Canada in particular is it's a big advantage. And we also have a very strong team on the ground within Brazil to be able to take this forward.
So what? Sorry, then what is ValOre? I thought it was a platinum-palladium company. No, you're saying something else.
So we see ourselves as an integrated precious metals producer in the near term. So
okay.
Platinum, palladium, within Pedra Branca, we've got a small amount of gold.
What's the time frame for that then? What do you, when you say?
So we'd be looking early next year to do an acquisition.
No. With the platinum, palladium, with Pedra Branca project, you're obviously you want a precious metal producer. What does that time frame look like just on the platinum, palladium, Pedra Branca?
So just on Pedra Branca itself. So if we publish PEA next year, go into licensing, trial mining license, typically you're looking at 18-month period to construct and build, so it would be operational H2 2028.
For phase one?
For phase one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go and buy some stuff, which is advanced development.
Yeah.
Where you say we raise the capital because we're good at it, done it once or twice, and we will get that thing into production as well. And then that is that's it, all under one roof.
That's right.
Shared balance sheet and all of that kind of good stuff. Okay.
Which would give us production already in 2026. So what's interesting is you make the acquisition, you've got production going from 2026, and ramp that up through the course of 2027 and 2028. So that these projects come on.
So this is a much more aggressive, ambitious company.
That's right.
It's been, look, I appreciate it's been difficult markets when ValOre has been sort of sitting through and it's offloaded a bit of uranium, and but it's also been a difficult time for platinum, palladium. So what we're saying is now the market is going to allow us to be just that little bit more ambitious. We feel that with this kind of bigger world view and this bigger vision, that's going to create a better, more stable company. There's maybe re-rate on being a producer or cash flowing, but we've still got to stick to our knitting and actually get some of these projects advanced.
Exactly.
So the team right now doesn't seem built for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got a very strong on-the-ground team. Primarily, it's been focused on exploration. That's our sort of basis.
Yeah, and you're talking about development,
bread and butter.
So you need to bring some people on?
Well, it's another good reason to be looking at acquisition. Bringing in a team who have successfully done the design work, they've done the commissioning work at a pilot scale, are then ready to be able to build the full-scale plant after that.
So that's the big seismic shift here. That's a different profile of team. It's a different profile of investment. It's, like I say, ambitious is a word I'm going to use for the third time. That's the big seismic shift. So when did that? Was this part of why you came aboard, or is this something that you've evolved since you came aboard? I mean,
this was part of the rationale for coming in. My background is building, developing, and delivering projects.
Okay.
And doing that on Pedra Branca certainly is primary focus number one.
Yeah.
But bringing in additional production, building out that operational team ourselves that we're ready to do.
Well, that's the big news of the day. That's the big news of this conversation. Yeah. So, okay, understood. I like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're really excited about it. I think it's a huge opportunity for us. In Brazil in particular. Yeah. I mean, one thing I think is what's also worth talking about is the just the sheer level of talent that exists within Brazil, for particularly on the mining side. So really great geologists, and we've been fortunate to benefit from that. But also mining engineers, metallurgists, project execution teams. That is something that has got us really excited in that space as well.
And talk to me about the team. Obviously, you've lived there for you have previously lived there for 6 years. In terms of how you manage things on the ground, What does that look like for you, having built one of these things, a few of these things before?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of sort of physically.
Do you physically get yourself over there again and say, right, I'm all eyes all day, every day?
Yeah. So I mean, I just recently got back from about 2.5 weeks of being in Brazil. Spent some time down in Belo Horizonte, which is one of the cities that I'd lived in previously. Spent time in Sao Paulo, obviously financial center of Brazil. And then out at our project site up in Ceará, time in with the with the community, and it's one of the things that has been really gratifying to see the level of work that the team has done there in terms of engaging the community and getting that baseline support, and then out visiting these prospective acquisitions of ours as well, which has been really fascinating. So yeah, there's a lot of development going on in Brazil. It's proceeding really rapidly. It's exciting to see it.
Okay, well, look, Nick, first of all, lovely to meet you.
Likewise.
It really is. And wow, I kind of left this conversation with a kind of much different view as I entered it. So going aggressive, going ambitious. 2026 sounds like could be as a pivotal year for the business, not just because of what's happening with platinum-palladium price, but because of what you intend to do and how you intend to build the company. So appreciate that. Thank you.
100%. Good.
Good.